The first light of dawn stretched across the horizon, spilling gold over the village roofs of red clay. Smoke curled lazily from cooking fires as the smell of roasted maize drifted through the air. The market stirred to life, voices rising and falling like a chorus of songbirds. Children raced barefoot along the dusty paths, their laughter echoing against the drums that called from the village square. Women balanced baskets of yams and peppers on their heads, while men gathered to trade goats, salt, and woven cloth. Yet beneath the harmony, there was a hush that clung to the air, as if joy itself knew it was fragile. Whispers carried from door to door, like restless winds before a storm. By the edge of the square, the baobab tree loomed high, its trunk wider than a hut, its branches stretching like the arms of an elder blessing and warning all at once. The villagers often said, "The baobab does not speak, but it remembers." Its roots sank deep, binding the living to the ancestors who once walked these same paths. An old man leaned on his staff, gazing at the tree's shadow as it stretched across the earth. He muttered, voice rough with years. This tree has watched us quarrel, love, and forget. Its silence is heavier than our words. A young boy at his feet asked, "Grandfather, does the baobab judge us?" The elder's eyes narrowed. "The baobab does not judge, child, but it carries the memory of our deeds. Forget the lessons of the ancestors, and the tree will remind us, sometimes with silence, sometimes with sorrow." The drums beat louder, as though answering his words. The villagers continued their daily trade, but many eyes turned toward the baobab, unsettled by its quiet presence. Though life seemed rich and full, the village itself stood on the edge of something unseen. Like a drum stretched tight, waiting for the strike of fate, the sun dipped low, painting the sky in streaks of orange and purple. As shadows lengthened, the village gathered around the fires. Sparks leapt upward like restless spirits, and the beating of drums softened into a heartbeat for the night. Elders sat at the circle's center, their faces etched with lines of memory and wisdom. One elder raised his staff, the firelight dancing in his eyes. "Children of the soil," he began, voice deep and steady. "Remember this. A lie walks fast, but truth follows with longer legs. The one who betrays kin betrays himself." Another elder leaned forward, adding, "Justice may rest, but it never dies. It wakes when the earth has had enough of silence." The children leaned closer, wide-eyed, while the adults listened in uneasy quiet. The tales of the ancestors were not just for passing time, they were warnings. That night, the fire crackled like a whisper of what was yet to come, foreshadowing a lesson none could escape. From the edge of the circle, Amina sat apart. The flames kissed her face, revealing a beauty so striking it often silenced rooms. Her skin shone like polished ebony, her hair braided with beads that jingled softly when she moved. Men spoke her name in hushed tones. Women shook their heads in envy, and children admired her as if she were a queen. But Amina's heart beat for herself alone. While others bent to the weight of duty, pounding yam, fetching water, nursing the young, Amina lingered by mirrors of polished calabash, tracing her reflection with pride. She loved the sway of her waist more than the cry of her child. She adored the shimmer of beads more than the smell of cooking fires. "Vanity is a sweet drink," an elder once warned her, "but it leaves the throat dry." She only laughed, her laughter like bells in the wind. In the village, beauty was meant to honor family and nurture community, but Amina's charm hid neglect, and beneath her fine robes lay carelessness sharp enough to wound. The mothers whispered, "A mother's hands should be a shield, not empty air," and though Amina did not yet know it, her choices would soon summon fate's heavy hand, and the stories told around the fire would rise to judge her. Baby Kofi lay wrapped in soft cloth, his tiny chest rising and falling like the calm rhythm of the river. His eyes shone brighter than dawn, and his laughter fluttered through the air like the song of morning birds. To the villagers, he was more than a child. He was a promise, fragile as a butterfly's wing yet strong enough to bind hope. Women smiled when they saw him, saying, "This child will walk with blessings." Even the drummers, when they heard his cry, struck their skins gently, as if to honor his spirit. By the fireside, Grandmother Adisa leaned on her carved staff, her voice low but firm. "Do not forget," she said, her eyes searching Amina's face. "The spirits watch over the innocent. A child is not just the blood of his mother. He is the heartbeat of the ancestors. If a mother's hand grows careless, the spirits grow restless." Amina laughed lightly, tossing her braids as beads clinked like rain on stone. "Mother, you worry too much. My Kofi is strong, like his father was." Adisa struck the ground once with her staff. "Strength is not armor against neglect. The river does not drown the careful. It waits for the careless to step too near. Remember this, child." The warning hung in the air. But Amina turned away, humming to herself, her vanity louder than the elder's wisdom. At the marketplace, the smell of roasted yam and dried fish mixed with the noise of barter and chatter. Women pounded cassava, children chased one another, and traders lifted baskets high. Yet, beneath the rhythm of the market's life, whispers coiled like snakes in the grass. "Did you see her yesterday?" one woman murmured, her voice sharp as a blade. Amina sat in the shade, admiring her beads, while the baby cried. Another spat into the dust. "A mother's beauty means nothing if her child is left hungry." A man carrying firewood shook his head. "The ancestors will not be silent. Neglect is a call to spirits, and they answer with teeth." Laughter and bargaining filled the air above, but below, the murmurs grew heavier, weaving a net of judgment around Amina. She walked past them, chin lifted, smile glowing, as though she did not hear. Yet the whispers clung to her steps like shadows, foreshadowing the storm her vanity would soon awaken. Amina's feet carried her slowly to the riverbank, her bracelets jingling as she moved. The sun was warm, and the air was thick with the scent of damp earth and reeds. She found shade beneath a tall tree, its roots stretching like the arms of an elder who had seen too much. She laid her wrapper carefully on the ground, smoothing it as if preparing a throne. With a sigh, she leaned back, her beauty glowing brighter than her responsibility. Baby Kofi wriggled in her arms, his laughter bubbling like water over stones. Amina kissed his forehead, then placed him gently on the grass, a little too close to the river's edge. "Play here, my star," she murmured, brushing her hair from her face. "Your mother needs rest." Her eyes, heavy from leisure and the long morning, closed slowly. Duty slipped from her like sand through open fingers. The rhythm of the water lulled her into sleep. Kofi gurgled softly, reaching for the river's sparkle. His hands opened and closed as though he could catch the sunlight dancing on the waves. His laughter, once sharp and bright, grew quieter, swallowed by the vast stillness of the water. Alone, the child's innocence lay exposed, as fragile as the first flower of spring left under a heavy sky. The river seemed to notice. The once gentle current stirred, rippling against the stones with a whisper that sounded almost like words. Dark clouds gathered without warning, veiling the sun in sudden shadow. Birds, once chattering in the branches, fell silent as if they too felt the weight of judgment approach. Even the air thickened, heavy and still. The baobab tree loomed in the distance, its branches unmoving, watching as the scene unfolded. To those who knew its silent language, it was a warning. Fate does not sleep when a mother forgets her duty. The river stirred again, deeper now, carrying with it an unseen presence. Spirits were near, drawn not by chance, but by the carelessness of a mother who chose vanity over vigilance. The wind whispered through the tall reeds, carrying voices that did not belong to the living. Though no elder sat by the riverside, their warnings lingered, heavy in the air. Neglect invites fate. A mother who closes her eyes to duty awakens the eyes of the ancestors. The unseen presence circled, shadows gathering like smoke above the water. It was said the ancestors did not sleep, that they measured the weight of every careless act, and now they fixed their gaze on Amina, who slept while her child drifted closer to danger. Her child drifted closer to danger. The air grew sharp as if a knife had sliced through its warmth. A sudden gust bent the reeds low, their whispers turning into a trembling song. Birds rose in fright, wings cutting the sky with frantic beats, then vanished into silence. The river's calm face stirred, rippling in patterns that no human hand could shape. An eerie stillness fell, and within it was a truth the villagers often feared to name. When a mother fails her duty, the veil between the world of men and the spirit realm begins to tear. Nature itself had turned into a messenger, foreshadowing the price of Amina's neglect. Amina stirred, her body shifting against the tree's rough bark. She rubbed her eyes lazily, the sleep still heavy on her face. The laughter she expected to hear, the sweet, bubbling sound of her child, was gone. The riverside was too quiet. Her gaze darted to the spot where she had laid him. The grass lay flat, empty. Her breath caught and her chest tightened. "Kofi?" Her voice cracked as she scrambled to her feet, her hands shaking as they searched the ground, the reeds, the river's edge. "Kofi!" she cried again, her tone desperate, echoing across the silent waters. Panic wrapped itself around her throat. She clawed at the earth as if the baby might be hiding beneath it, then tore through the reeds, her wrapper catching on thorns. "Where are you, my son?" Her scream rose, sharp enough to pierce the heart of the village. Drums in the distance faltered. Women in the market dropped their baskets. Men turned their heads toward the river. The sound of her wail carried like thunder, heavy with fear and guilt. The ancestors had watched. The spirits had stirred. And now the child of promise was gone. Feet thundered against the earth as villagers raced to the riverside. Dust rose in clouds, mixing with Amina's cries that tore through the still air. Women dropped their calabashes, men abandoned their nets, children clung to their mothers' wrappers. They swarmed around the water's edge, voices colliding in urgency. "Check the reeds," a fisherman barked, plunging his spear into the thick stalks. "Look by the banks," another shouted, splashing into the shallows. Hands dug through the mud, eyes scanned the current, but no trace of Kofi appeared. The river only sighed, its surface mocking their desperation. Sympathy soon began to wither. The first whispers curled like snakes. "Did she not sleep while the child lay by the water?" one woman murmured. Another spat. "What kind of mother closes her eyes when death is so near?" The villager's eyes shifted from the river to Amina. She clutched the empty wrapper against her chest, rocking back and forth. But where there should have been comfort, suspicion had settled, heavy and sharp. The whispers thickened. Old fears returned like ghosts crawling from the earth. "It is the spirits," an elder muttered, his voice trembling. "They hunger for what is left unguarded." "No!" a bent old woman hissed, shaking her head. "This smells of witchcraft." "A curse walks here," the crowd gasped, and the circle around Amina tightened. Fingers pointed and tongues grew bold. "She opened the door herself," someone accused. "She has angered the ancestors," another cried. Amina's sobs grew louder. "I would never harm my child. The river, he was here, he was—" Her words broke like clay pots dropped on stone, but her pleas only fueled the fire. "What woman loses her child to shadows unless her hands are unclean?" one man sneered. "Her neglect is a sin," another added, "and the gods will not overlook it." The elders pushed forward, their walking sticks striking the earth with authority. Faces lined with age and wisdom gazed down at her, their judgment heavier than chains. "Amina," the oldest elder began, voice like the crack of dry wood. "A mother's arms are a sacred shield. You laid yours aside. Do you know what this means?" Amina bowed her head, tears dripping into the dust. "Forgive me. My eyes betrayed me. My strength failed." But the mothers in the crowd shook their heads. "You have shamed us all," one declared. "You have betrayed the duty that binds every woman to her child," another added, her voice sharp with scorn. The chorus of condemnation rose higher, drowning out Amina's pleas. Shame wrapped around her like a burial cloth. The village had spoken, and its voice was merciless. The judgment hung in the air like smoke that would not clear. Amina was no longer just a grieving mother. She was the woman who had failed her child, failed her people, and perhaps even failed the ancestors. The murmurs of the crowd fell silent as Grandmother Adisa stepped forward. Her back was bent, but her eyes burned like hot coals. She raised her walking stick and struck it against the ground with a sharp crack. that made even the children flinch. "This is no accident," she declared, her voice carrying over the riverside like the call of a horn. "The river does not steal without reason. Spirits are watchers. They test us, especially when we forget the weight of our duties." A hush swept through the villagers. Adisa's words were never taken lightly. She was the oldest among them, the keeper of stories older than the village itself. Turning to Amina, she spoke more slowly. "A mother's arms are sacred. To neglect them, even for a moment, is to open a doorway. The spirits walk through doors we leave unguarded." Amina collapsed to her knees, tears rolling down her dust-stained cheeks. "Mother Adisa, forgive me. I did not mean—" But Adisa silenced her with a wave of her hand. "Meaning does not matter. The spirits do not weigh intentions, only actions. Remember this, all of you. Fate listens when we grow careless." The crowd murmured in agreement, fear curling around their hearts. By evening, the village fires burned low, but the whispers refused to die. Men returning from the river carried stories, their voices hushed yet trembling. "They say Mama Wada herself has stretched her hand," one fisherman whispered, glancing over his shoulder. Another nodded, his face pale. "Her beauty lures, her wrath punishes. If she has taken the boy, it is a judgment." The tale spread like wildfire. Mama Wada, the river goddess, had claimed baby Kofi. Some said it was a punishment for Amina's neglect. Others claimed the goddess sought balance, trading life for life, reminding mortals that the river was both a blessing and a curse. "The river gives fish, water, and life," one old man muttered, "but it also demands respect. Forget this, and it will remind you." Soon, no one dared fetch water alone. Mothers held their children tighter. Even the river, once a place of laughter and play, seemed to watch them with eyes unseen. Justice or mystery, it no longer mattered. Fear had turned the river into something sacred, something untouchable. And at the center of all these whispers stood Amina, her name tied to the goddess's anger. Before dawn, when the sky was still bruised with shadows, Amina rose. Her wrapper was torn, her eyes hollow from weeping, but her steps were steady. She tied a strip of cloth around her waist, pressed her palm against the earth, and whispered, "Kofi, my child, I will not stop until I find you." Alone, she walked past the sleeping huts and toward the forest. Guilt weighed heavy on her back, but determination pushed her forward. Every step carried the echo of her son's laughter, now lost to silence. The trees loomed like giants, and the river's voice followed her, winding through the land like a chant. Paths twisted into the unknown, toward sacred grounds, toward danger, toward the place where human feet rarely went. Yet she did not falter. "If the spirits test me," she whispered, "then let them see my strength. Let them see a mother's love." The journey had begun, and with it, the story of one woman walking the line between the world of the living and the world of spirits. The path through the forest grew wild, roots clawing at the ground and branches whispering like tongues of unseen spirits. Amina's feet ached, but her heart beat harder than the drums of a festival night. Then, from the shadows, a figure appeared. A hyena, its laugh sharp and crooked, echoing through the trees. "Mother who cries," the hyena mocked, circling her, eyes glowing like embers. "Why wear your feet to the bone? There are faster ways to find what you've lost." "I can show you." Amina stiffened, clutching her wrapper tighter. "You are a trickster. Your teeth shine, but your heart is empty." The hyena grinned wider, bowing as if in jest. "Empty? No, full of wisdom. Take my path. Trade your sorrow for ease. The spirits won't notice." She turned away, trembling but firm. Shortcuts feed greed, not love. "I will not take your path." The hyena's laughter followed her into the trees, fading but biting, like a wound that refused to heal. Deeper in the forest, a gentle sound drifted through the air, a song, clear as morning light. A weaver bird fluttered above, its small body glowing in the dappled sun. Its voice carried wisdom like an elder's prayer. "Patience weaves the cloth of destiny," it sang. "Pride tears it apart. Walk slowly, mother, for love does not live in haste." Amina stopped, tears streaking her cheeks. She whispered, "Guide me, little one. My pride has already torn too much." The bird swooped low, circling her head before darting ahead as though leading her onward. Its song filled her weary heart with strength, and for a moment, the forest did not seem so cruel. Yet with every step, her chest grew heavier. The hyena's mocking laughter and the bird's gentle song echoed inside her like two voices wrestling for her soul. She remembered her vanity, her carelessness, her hunger to be seen as beautiful while her child lay unguarded. Her breath broke into sobs. "I have carried pride like a crown, and now it has become my chains." But she did not stop. Each trial burned away her illusions, leaving her raw but stronger. The journey was no longer only about finding Kofi. It was about facing herself, and proving whether a mother's love could rise above the weight of her own failings. The forest began to thin, and the hum of water rose like a hidden drumbeat. Amina stumbled forward, her legs trembling, until the weaver bird appeared once more. It circled her head and then perched on a branch above the riverbank. Its song filled the air, soft at first, then swelling, as if many voices sang through one small throat. Patience, humility, love, it sang. Only these opened the path between worlds. Before Amina's eyes, the river shifted. Its surface gleamed like glass, reflecting not the sky but endless stars, though it was still daylight. She gasped, her breath caught between fear and wonder. "Is this where the spirits dwell?" she whispered. The bird fluttered its wings, and the shimmering waters began to part, forming a doorway. Amina, trembling but resolute, stepped forward. The moment her foot touched the glowing current, the world changed. The air grew heavy, carrying whispers that twisted like smoke. Shadows stretched and swayed, though nothing moved. Trees bent as if bowing, and in their leaves, faces formed, ancestors with eyes like burning coals. Her heart pounded. "Forgive me. I have failed," she whispered. The wind answered, voices mingling. Neglect invites fate, but repentance opens the way. She pressed her hands to her chest and walked deeper into the spirit realm, her body light, her soul bare. Every step seemed both endless and fleeting, as though time itself folded around her. From the heart of the shining river, a figure rose. First the water churned, then it calmed, and out of its depths emerged Mama Wada. Her form shimmered, her skin the color of midnight waters, her hair flowing like waves, her eyes as deep as eternity. In her arms rested baby Kofi, laughing softly as though untouched by sorrow. Amina fell to her knees, tears streaming. "Great Mother of the River, forgive me. Spare my child. Take me, but spare him." Mama Wada's voice rolled like thunder, yet soothed like rain. "You left your gift unguarded. The spirits tested you, and you faltered. But love brings you here, humble and broken. Tell me, Amina, do you seek your child for your pride or for your heart?" Amina pressed her face to the earth. "For my heart, my soul, my very breath. Without him I am nothing." The goddess studied her in silence. Then she cradled Kofi closer, her beauty both terrifying and tender. A mother's vanity can destroy, but a mother's love can redeem. Your journey is not yet finished. Rise and prove your words true. Her voice echoed through the waters, leaving Amina trembling, suspended between judgment and mercy, her fate resting in the balance of love and spirit. The river roared louder, waves curling as if stirred by unseen hands. Mama Wada lifted her gaze and the sky itself darkened. Her voice thundered, rolling across the waters like a storm. "You, Amina, mother of this child, have forsaken your sacred duty. You chose vanity over vigilance, slumber over sacrifice. A child is not a jewel to be worn for pride. It is life itself, entrusted by the spirits." The river trembled, foam rising, and Amina clutched her chest as though the goddess's words had pierced her heart. Tears streamed down her face, and her knees shook upon the wet ground. "Great Mother, I was blind," she cried. "I thought beauty would carry me through the eyes of others. I forgot the truth, that a mother's strength lies not in how she shines, but in how she guards her own." Mama Wada's eyes, deep as the midnight sea, did not soften. Instead, her hand rose, and from the waters came whispers, ancient, sorrowful voices. They circled Amina like a wind made of memory. One voice spoke first, low and haunting. "I was a father who left his son to wander. I returned to silence and an empty hut." Another rose. "I was a mother who chased wealth and let my daughter hunger. The spirits carried her away." More voices followed, each a burden pressed onto Amina's trembling shoulders. The air grew heavy with grief and she fell forward, her forehead pressed into the wet soil. "Ancestors, forgive me," she whispered. "Do not let my name join your laments. Let my child live, and let me bear the shame." The voices swelled, overlapping like waves crashing. Then they stilled, leaving only Amina's ragged breath and the soft cry of baby Kofi in Mama Wada's arms. The goddess lowered her hand, and the air thickened with unseen power. From the waters rose a spirit elder, cloaked in shadows of silver mist. In his palm he held a glowing ember, pulsing like a heartbeat. "This is the heart of the mother," the elder declared. "Let it be weighed against the cry of her child." The ember drifted toward Amina, sinking into her chest. At once her pride, her shame, her guilt, all pressed against her ribs, threatening to break her. Baby Kofi's cry rang out, pure and sharp, cutting through the air like a blade. The river stilled. Even the wind held its breath. Mama Wada's eyes pierced into Amina. "If your love is true, his cry will awaken hope within you. But if vanity still lingers, your heart will turn to stone." Amina raised her face, streaked with tears. She pressed her hands to her chest and whispered, "Let my heart be broken if it saves him. My life is his life. My breath is his breath." The cry of baby Kofi grew louder, bright and clear. A warmth spread from Amina's chest, breaking the weight of her pride. The waters shimmered, and for the first time, the goddess's lips curved, not into a smile, but into the faintest shadow of mercy. Amina's knees struck the wet earth with a heavy thud. Her arms stretched forward, palms pressed against the trembling ground. Tears carved paths down her face as her voice broke through the silence of the riverbank. "Great Mother, spare me. Do not let my child suffer for my foolishness. Take my pride, take my beauty, even my life, but let me be a mother once more. Let me guard him with the strength I once wasted on vanity." Her words were not smooth or sweet like before. They were cracked, heavy, and raw. From the shadows, the spirits murmured, their voices carrying the weight of judgment. Some whispered of her shame, while others sighed at her courage. Mama Wada's eyes glimmered, both cruel and kind. "Your tongue now sings humility, but words are light as smoke. To prove them true, you must drink what is bitter, so your soul may learn the taste of sacrifice." From the swirling waters, she lifted a carved wooden bowl. Inside lay herbs as dark as night, their scent sharp and foul, curling into the air like poison. The goddess's voice boomed, "Drink, and you renounce vanity. Drink, and you choose humility over pride. But know this, the herbs will burn, twisting flesh and spirit alike. Still, only through this cup may you walk again as mother to your child." The bowl was placed before Amina, its surface trembling as though the herbs themselves resisted her touch. She stared at it, her stomach tightening, her throat dry. Her hands reached forward, shaking. She lifted the bowl to her lips, the stench clawing at her nose, making her gag before a single drop touched her tongue. Her mind swirled with old images, villagers praising her beauty, mirrors of water where she once admired herself, voices telling her she was more jewel than mother. Pride tugged at her, whispering, "Do not drink. You were made for more than sacrifice." Then baby Kofi's cry pierced the air, sharp and desperate, cutting through the fog of her thoughts. Amina froze, her arms trembling as the bowl hovered near her lips. The river grew still. The wind silenced its breath. Even the ancestors hushed their murmurs. All eyes, mortal and spirit, rested on her. Would she drink the bitterness for her child, or would pride pull her down into ruin? Her fingers clutched the rough wooden bowl, trembling as if it held fire. The bitter scent stung her nose, yet she did not turn away. Tears blurred her eyes, rolling into the dark liquid. "For my child," she whispered, her voice breaking, "and for the mother I was meant to be." She tipped the bowl, and the foul herbs poured into her mouth. The taste clawed her throat, sharp and burning, making her body shake. She coughed but swallowed again, refusing to stop. With each gulp, pride cracked inside her like a broken shell. Her sobs mixed with the bitter drink until the bowl lay empty in her hands. The river roared in answer. Amina's body trembled, but her spirit felt light, cleansed by pain. Mama Wada's voice thundered above the waves. "You have chosen humility. The path of a mother is yours again." The waters surged forward, wrapping around her. Amina gasped as the river pulled her under, its depths cool and endless. For a heartbeat, she thought she would drown. But then, light. She rose from the sacred waters, baby Kofi cradled in her arms, his tiny cry echoing like dawn breaking after a long night. Her tears flowed freely, mingling with the river as if the land itself wept with her. The spirits faded into the wind, leaving behind whispers of blessing. The goddess's voice softened, no longer thunder but song. "Walk back to your people, Amina. Let them see what sacrifice has made of you. Let them see what sacrifice has made of you." When her feet touched the earth again, silence swallowed the village. The same mouths that once spat judgment now hung open in awe, eyes widened, following her every step. Her face, once marked by vanity, now carried a glow not of beauty, but of truth. No drum beat, no child laughed, no elder spoke. All stood still, for they knew they had witnessed something greater than pride, a mother reborn. The villagers stood frozen, their eyes fixed on Amina. Moments ago, she had been the woman of scorn, whispered about in corners, mocked for her pride and folly. Now she stood with baby Kofi in her arms, her body weary but her spirit burning bright. The river clung to her like a crown of silver, and the silence of the crowd told a truth no one dared to deny. She had walked through judgment and returned whole. The same mouths that once hurled insults now lowered in shame. Some bowed their heads, others pressed their hands to their chests. What they saw before them was not just a mother, but a woman who had faced the gods and survived. The silence broke with a steady sound. Tap, tap, tap. Grandmother Adisa moved forward, her staff striking the earth with each step. Her eyes, sharp as a hawk's, cut through the crowd until they rested on Amina. When she spoke, her voice carried the weight of the ancestors, heavy yet tender. "People of the village," she said, "open your ears and hear the lesson in this day." Her staff struck the ground once more. "The hand that is careless may drop the seed, and when the seed is lost, the harvest withers and the people suffer. But," her voice deepened, steady as the earth beneath them, "the hand that bends in humility can gather the seed again, planting it with tears, watering it with sacrifice, and watching it bloom anew." She turned to Amina, her face softening. "Child, your pride nearly stole your destiny, but your humility has restored it. Remember, beauty fades like morning mist, but a mother's heart, humble and steadfast, can outlast even the anger of spirits." The villagers murmured, their shame turning to reverence. No longer did they see a careless mother. They saw a living tale, a warning, and a hope all bound in one. And as Grandmother Adisa's words hung in the air, the people knew the story of this day would be told for generations, so none would forget the power of humility to mend what was broken. The crowd began to stir, their whispers rolling through the village like the hum of distant drums. Mothers pulled their little ones closer, their arms firm as if shielding them from a lesson too heavy for tender hearts. Fathers nodded in silence, their faces carved with thought, their eyes fixed on Amina as though she were both a warning and a mirror. The youths, wide-eyed and restless, repeated Grandmother Adisa's words to one another, each phrase echoing like a proverb freshly born. The hand that drops the seed can also plant it again. The air carried their voices, weaving them into the memory of the day. Above them all, the baobab stood tall, its roots gripping the earth like the arms of ancestors refusing to let go. Its branches swayed slowly, though no strong wind moved. Some said the tree itself was nodding, bearing silent witness to the truth that had been spoken. Its shadow stretched long across the gathering, wrapping the people in a cloak of quiet approval. To the villagers it was clear, the ancestors had heard, and they agreed. The sun leaned low, painting the village path in gold as Amina walked with slow, deliberate steps. Baby Kofi rested against her chest, his tiny breath warm upon her skin. Each footstep pressed into the earth like a promise, a vow whispered not only to the child she carried but to the spirits that watched. Her eyes no longer darted with shame, nor did her shoulders bend beneath judgment. Instead, she walked tall, her heart steady, her soul cleansed. The whispers of the river still lingered in her ears, but now they carried strength instead of fear. The villagers, gathered in silence, watched her pass. At first there was hesitation, eyes darting, lips pressed tight. Then slowly, one by one, their heads bowed. Mothers lowered their gazes in quiet respect. Fathers pressed fists to their chests, and even the children, sensing something sacred, hushed their voices. Forgiveness did not come in words, but in the stillness that embraced her. Amina's steps carried her beyond scorn, into reverence. Her walk was no longer only her own. It was the walk of every mother, every heart that had stumbled yet found its way back. The fire crackled low, its glow painting the circle of listeners in shifting shadows. Grandmother Adisa raised her staff, her voice calm yet heavy with the weight of truth. "Children of the soil," she began, her eyes sweeping over the villagers. "A careless hand can scatter seeds of sorrow, and from such seeds pain will surely grow. But when the heart learns humility, when pride is broken and replaced with duty, even the spirits will show mercy." The flames leapt higher, as though nodding in agreement. Mothers tightened their hold on their little ones, and fathers bowed their heads in thought. The story of Amina was no longer just her own. It had become a warning and a lesson for all. Negligence brings wrath. Adisa's words lingered in the night air. But true change awakens redemption. Remember this, for the ancestors are always watching. The fire hissed, sparks rising like stars into the dark sky, sealing the tale as both warning and hope. Warning and hope.